Alright y'all, I'm going to show you how to stretch a canvas. I'm going to do this video in two parts. The first thing is when you're getting set up, you should have two longer pieces like this, and I want to explain a little bit what materials I use for this. This is a 1x2 and it's clear pine, and the reason it's clear pine is it has fewer knots. So when I buy a piece of wood, I tend to look at it by closing one eye and kind of holding it like that to see if it's got any major warps or curves to it before I purchase it. And then this is a piece of quarter round. So both of these I bought in 8-foot sections, and then I glued it. I ran a bead of glue along this quarter round here and clamped it down to the wood. So you can see it creates a nice flush edge there, and our canvas will wrap around that edge. Otherwise, if you bought just a piece of wood like this and did your canvas around there, all of this would make contact with the canvas as you're painting, and it can leave an impression on the painting. So what you want instead is this surface is right here is going to be the only place that has the canvas on it as it's stretched across. So a few things you'll need. You'll need your two longer pieces here. These are the 20-inch ones, your two 16-inch ones. And you'll need a staple gun. This particular staple gun, the staple comes out here. You might need to use a hammer to get the staples to go all the way in. Sometimes they are not flush with the piece of wood, so I knock it a couple times with a hammer. And then the canvas pliers that you purchased for this project. You can see this kind that I have has like, it's like a bullnose edge on it here, and then a little indentation here, this part that's raised up, this kind of like divot here, so that when you're stretching the canvas, basically what you'll do is you're going to be like pulling it against here like this. So this indentation here helps to pull the canvas kind of around the edge. So I've got wood glue, canvas pliers, staple gun, extra staples, and make sure you get the right kind. These ones are a 1/4 inch. Heavy duty. Let's see, generally I think it's the T150 model, the T50 model. So if you see, that's a pretty good, the T50 is a pretty heavy duty staple gun. It's going to be a little bit more power than your normal kind of stapler. So to start, the first part of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to construct this. Now, one thing that I do when I build my canvases, I will glue these, make sure it comes to a 90-degree angle first. So like so, and then on each of the sides, make sure it comes to a nice 90-degree angle. I don't do a lot of sanding on the edges because when you sand the edge, prior to that, you could change the angle slightly and it might not come together as well. What I tend to do, if you have this, what's really helpful is I use a ratchet strap from like a truck. You can put the ratchet strap all the way around here after you put a little glue on all of the edges here, this inner edge, put some glue here, put some glue here. And if you did that on all four sides, you can take a ratchet strap, strap it down, and it'll pull it together at a nice 90-degree angle, and then it'll dry. You can let it dry for like 24 hours before you unclamp it. It'll be nice and secure. You could also use corner clamps if you have those for like frame making. But here's a way of doing it without having to worry about clamping it. So what I would suggest doing is using a little bit of glue on each of the corners, like so. This is wood glue. You could also use Gorilla Glue. Sets up faster, but it tends to expand. So what I would do is make sure that you've sanded off the edges or kind of scrape off the edges so that it doesn't mess with where the canvas is going to lay flat. Glue all these sides. Then what I'm going to do is pull it together, kind of rub back and forth so the glue kind of sticks a little bit before we do anything. Make sure that comes to a nice 90-degree angle. Pull it together so the glue does some of the suction work for you to hold this together. And then we will staple it in place. And it might take a little time to finesse this. You'll notice if one side comes apart, that's okay. As long as you got it together when you go to staple it, you should be okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to staple. We're going to staple both sides. Just right here in the corner. I think it's really important as an artist to know how to construct, to build things, to put it together, because you know this is going to save you a lot of money, not necessarily a crazy amount of money, but what's nice about this is you get to customize your piece. So whatever size canvas that you want, maybe it was really long and skinny and irregular and they don't sell that at Hobby Lobby, you can construct it. I'm going to hammer these in a little bit more. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it, do the same thing on the back side, pulling it together, making sure it's tight. You can see there's a little bit of a gap, but if I pull that together, it's going to pull it nice and tight. This is where you can tweak it a little bit if you have to. Of course, my staple gets jammed in the middle of this. There we go. See how there's a little gap here? We can just kind of cinch that together. Staple, staple, staple. This is fun! If we were in person, y'all would have been able to cut this on your own. Imagine, so I took 96 pieces of wood, glued all of these strips together, and cut them with a miter saw. You would have done that yourself and still wound up with all 10 fingers, you know, girl power. So I want y'all to be able to use tools. So if you're going to take Tandem 2, you'll get the opportunity to do this in person. But I didn't want to leave y'all hanging and not have the opportunity to do this even though we're still remote. Hammer those down and voila, nice 16 by 20 construction here, and it's pretty solid, but what I'll do is I'll let that dry probably about an hour before I actually stretch my canvas, and this looks pretty good. Peace.